2024, we're ready to. How do we make it more affordable for individuals to access their medicines? And a result of that race in the bottom, where's another quick prediction, we're going to see some big players fall. Follow the money, right? So if you're a patient out there, you're going to be going, yep, homegrown. The UFC stood up, removed cannabis from the ban list already. 2024, we're ready to go. We're going to start off this year with some predictions. So if you want to know what we think or what we're expecting to happen across different markets, big focus on Australia, touching on the US and touching on the UK as well. Want to see what we're going into, what our hits are going to be, who we expect to be some big losers this year and what that looks like. That's all part of the opening show for the year. I got a beard and all. I need to look better. I need to be better. And I hope that applies to you as well. 2024 is here. High Living with Chad, year 2. Let's go. All right. So I hope you had a lovely time. Hope you enjoyed the festive season. If you do Christmas, I hope you had a wonderful Christmas. And if you do New Year's as well, I hope that was enjoyable. Some time to kind of think, reflect, sit, and come back with a fresh approach, because that's definitely how we are at the moment. To start, I think I shared with you last time, if you connect with what we're doing, you want to see more guests on, you want to give us topics, you want to get better content, you want to get better quality, and you want to ensure that you're getting information that the industry hasn't bought or isn't part of an agenda, subscribe, like, share, pass the message on. We're going to deliver you 10, 15, 20-minute episodes every week. And then there may be longer ones when we have guests in, when I don't have, where it's not best for me to give you the information. It's better to come in and ask questions like we did last year, where we covered several topics. We went into several topics that weren't just about cannabis. We also touched upon psychedelics, which you can expect more of. So if you have any areas that you want us to dive into, we already know some of you have reached out with suggestions. We will get to that in the coming weeks. But today, it's all about predictions. You can hold me accountable this time next year. Well, we'll probably do it in December like we did last year, where we're then going to be able to say, how right was I? How off was I? What was it all like? Let's not waste time. Let's go for the number one thing in Australia that I think patients want to hear about and we're pushing for, and that's cost. That is cost. So how do we make it more affordable for individuals to access their medicines? And we don't do that by a race to the bottom that's occurring at the moment. And a result of that race in the bottom, where's another quick prediction, we're going to see some big players fall. So we're going to see some in the industry, some will talk about consolidation, others will see that there is an opportunity to come in and acquire assets that are struggling and that will be overtaken. So what we're seeing is some big players to fall. We'll then see some shared objectives between different companies where they come together to be stronger. There's no doubt about that, which is a positive. But our prediction, we're going to see some big players fall. And that's a result of a race to the bottom. There's a race to the bottom, trying to meet costs for patients, but they're probably not going in the way that we're going to show you that we think is the way forward. It's a race to the bottom, not good quality, not probably going after the right areas. And as a result, we're going to see some things fall. The way we're going about cost, you heard us talking about it last year. This year's already started. It's the 5th of January, 6th of January if you're over in Australia at the moment. We're already getting reimbursement of medicine already this year. When we talk about cost, we're not like, this is a special, come in. We're talking 100% reimbursement of medicine, and you can expect to hear much more about this throughout the year. Obviously, when we started talking about this last year, we had a few people coming in. Hey, can you tell us about how you're doing this? Can you tell us? That's what we call takers. Yeah, people just kind of come in and take rather than build together. We're working for you. We're independent. And we are working for you to reduce the cost and make it more affordable for patients. And we believe that is through reimbursement pathways. That's our number one prediction to start off. Looking at the market as well, I think it's oil time. I think some of the trends, started off with flower, and it's no surprising when we've had a market historically, unless you've been super well connected, it was like outdoor or indoor, right? It was like, hey, is that hydro or is it hydro or is it bush? That's kind of what was going on through most of the years when I was growing up. And obviously now there's a whole array of different medicines that are available. So there's no surprise that we've been jumping to that. But what I see happening more and more, looking at trends overseas in more mature markets and looking at the increasing data that seems to be present around different inhalation methods. We've got, anyway, without getting into it too much, I don't think the future is always in inhalation. I think we move more towards oils and different routes of administration, particularly to widen the market opportunity. Prediction number two, well, it's 2 or 3 if you want to have a look at some of those big players that will fall. So if people fall or companies fall, that means you then got to look at it. So it's like follow the money, right? So what we mentioned at the start of this on Tracker, 100% independent. I keep on saying that, but I need to say that because we think that holds, and we think that holds some weight, and we think that's important for some of our community out there that want to ensure that if they're receiving information, we're not getting paid to say something or there's not an agenda. So if we see it's a race to the bottom, we see some big players are going to fall, that means there's going to be a lot more noise around pushing for recreational adult use market, because that's where the money is seen. So the money is seen. If we widen these market opportunities and we race to adult recreational, it's going to bring in more money, and they're going to try to dress it up in every possible way. And all we need to do is look at overseas markets where there's already data and learn the lessons that no one has it right yet. So why would we follow in the footsteps of what people are trying to push? Not everyone's going to like what I'm saying right now, but there's an agenda, and that is to do more of a cash grab. And I don't think that's probably where we need to be if we're putting a perspective on of what is best for patients and how do we get that. Now, one of the areas that we may see that compensates that is homegrown, right? No one really talks about this, and no one's going to give it enough attention because there's not a lot of money in it. But there's not a lot of money in if you're looking at the existing model. But if we see that there's new ways that the industry can thrive, maybe a bit of a changing of the guard for companies that haven't got it right yet, more access for patients, there's different ways that we could look at that. That's not going to get a lot of noise. That's not going to get a lot of news. But homegrown is something to put on the agenda. One of our predictions, increasingly, this will be an issue for patients. Now, whether or not that gets the news, that gets the headlines that may be required. But I think if you're a patient out there, you're going to be going, yep, homegrown, that'd be good. Now, I do believe you probably need to put a cap on that in some ways. I think if it's just free for all, we're going to see a lot of the backdoor operations occur where people are growing and then there's bartering taking place and people are trying to offset a night out with their husband or wife, a holiday vacation, by then being able to put a markup on cannabis that they're already getting from someone that they know. Someone wants to come into cannabis. They do a little transaction in the community. They put on their tax. The individual doesn't know. They still think it's, hydro or bush. And so they're happy that they're getting it, but they don't know that they can go to a clinic and get it cheaper and probably better quality. But there's still people that are out there taking some money from individuals when there could be other ways. So homegrown, I think it's something to really look at, and I think it's an issue, a major one for patients in terms of affordability and access. But it does come with some areas that I'd love to have a discussion about. But let's put that out as a prediction: homegrown and what that means, and potential changing of the guard. Along with that, we think some of the other changes will be some of the things we've seen in America. Maybe it would be a little bit different, but I think what we're going to possibly see, and there's already movement of this on a state base, looking at more CBD hemp-based options, widens up the conversation just from around cannabis and medical cannabis, of course. But I think it's something to be mindful of, and looking at the whole plant and how that can be used and the whole wide range of new jobs, new focus, new innovation, new products, new healing, a focus on wellness that I think can come from that, which then brings and boosts the economy while also allowing us to be able to get better products. So that's something to look at as well. We think it's a prediction. Let's jump over to America and let's just get this out of the way. In America, it's an election year. We saw everything that went on last year in terms of the scheduling. There's no doubt that's going to be used. And while it seems that the president may not have direct involvement in that, I think the significance of this election means that the Democrats see cannabis as a card that could potentially get swinging voters. So I expect to hear some news in the lead up to election as it rolls forward. Big thing out of America, I think, is going to happen is sports. The UFC stood up, removed cannabis from the ban list already. UFC taking a really big forward stance on that and showing, and we know that some of the athletes have been big proponents of cannabis for a long time in terms of recovery. So already 2024 UFC leading the way with their athletes, and we see that spreading to other areas. The other big area that we look at is baseball. The NFL's been up and down for a while. We would love to see something come out of there, but Major League Baseball, the MLB, I would expect to see some really interesting research come out of the MLB this year in terms of moving cannabis-based medicines forward. And whatever that looks like, it's just a prediction for where we go, but let's see what happens there. And while we're on the issue of sports, let's come back to Australia. If we see the UFC, while it's a global sport, obviously main base is over in the US, and we've mentioned the NFL, a lot of hype, and there was a lot of hope around the NFL, starting to have questions around what's going to happen there. But as we said, the MLB is going to step up and lead the way. We think that then leaves us to go, well, what sport in Australia can now take those next steps? We would say the NRL. We would say that it would be in the NRL's interest to then be able to pick up an initiative like this, to be able to have a look at the wide-ranging impact. We actually did an article on this last year that we'll share just below, but the AFL is probably more advanced in some of these areas and looking at concussion. We know it's a huge area. Not only are we looking at concussion, I think it's wide, more far-reaching than that. But our prediction, NRL steps up within this year to do something around cannabis. We see that as the best opportunity. The other one could be a wild card with the Wallabies. Rugby needs something. I need to be a little bit removed, but look at the crowds that they're drawing. They need to do something. This is something which is positive. Whether or not it's the right feel, who knows? But that's what we expect to see in Australia this year. The other one is now looking at the UK. And what we're going to say about the UK is that it'll pop this year. So a lot of confidence that we'll see some of the numbers rapidly increase. Basically, my understanding, or the reason I'm saying that, is that it has to. It has to. That market is slow. The market is behind. There's a lot of areas that need to be improved. There's some really strong advocates over there. I know there's a big momentum that's growing. It's a huge market opportunity that hasn't reached its potential. There has been a lot of hope around the UK stepping up as well, but it hasn't really come to fruition as yet. So this year, the UK will pop, taking a wider lens. Very interesting markets. Germany, obviously very critical in terms of what's going to happen there. Again, one of those markets where there's a lot of noise, but I think there's close watch to see what happens in Germany. The other one would be looking at Holland, so the Netherlands, and seeing what comes of that. We commented last year about the fall of Amsterdam as a tourist destination, but there does seem to be a pretty interesting experiment going on there and in other parts of Europe, which I think we need to keep a close eye on. And then there's the huge opportunity for travel and cannabis, as we've spoken about, so we won't go into that in too much detail. The other last point would be Thailand and what happens to Thailand. My prediction, I don't think it can be taken away. I know there's a lot of noise that it's going to go back to medical. I don't know, but I'm just going to take a punt. I'm not going to sit on the fence. I'm going to say that's going to continue to flow, and it'll be the travel destination of the world for that kind of curious or the cannabis enthusiast that wants to go relax on a beach. You may have seen what we did, one of the last pods of the year, where we went into this in a little bit of detail, but we don't see Thailand slowing down, but probably having some smaller changes, but not completely going back on what we've seen occur in recent memory. So there's a few predictions that we think are going to happen this year. I'd love to see what you think. We wanted to make it short and sweet. We're going to come back in December. I'm going to hold myself to this like I did last year. I was off on several areas last year, and that's okay. What do you think? What are the areas that are going to pop? Let us know in the comments below. What did I get right, do you think? What are you like? Yeah, I think that's probably right. And what did I miss on? What did I forget? What did I leave out? Let's do this together. It's 2024. There's a huge opportunity for us. The world is going to be continuously waking up to the benefits that cannabis can have. There's going to be a huge power struggle that occurs around this very controversial plant. So it's important to note where you get your information from. And that's why we're recommending, with the final one, subscribe, like, and share to be part of this journey, be part of the community. On Tracker V4 is out and has been out. Perfect way to have a look at how your products affect your sleep. What products are you dosing and what sort of effect does that have on you, and how you are keeping on track with your days. That is higher living for 2024 kicking off. You can expect to see more of this next week and every week moving forward. Thank you.